In this video, we'll teach how to learn a basic backflip. From a standing position, you may hear people refer to this as a standing backflip or a back tuck. In capoeira, we call it mortal. But in capoeira, the word mortal can refer to any kind of backflip, whether it be from a standing position, an au, or a round off. And it can be a basic tucked backflip or any number of variations. Either way, mortal is the first step to learning other flips and acrobatics. If you can't do a back tuck, you'll have a hard time learning folha seca, round off backflips, and other similar acrobatics. So the mortal is a building block, or a foundation for these other more advanced variations and sequences. As a general rule, for most acrobatic movements you don't need to be super strong. In fact, the secret to most acrobatic movements in capoeira is the technique and the timing. If you understand and execute the movements with excellent technique, they become almost effortless, just like walking. If you've been doing capoeira for a year or two, think about how much easier it is to do meia lua now compared to the very first time you tried it. No doubt now you just throw it without really thinking about it and it doesn't require much effort. Acrobatics are no different. If you have good technique and take the time to practice them over and over, they'll be as easy to throw out as a meia lua de compasso.
Make sure that when you jump, you gotta bring your arm up and try to tuck in. If you do mortal by themselves, if you put it together with the macaque in pass, a lot easier, so then you don't have to tuck in. Okay, so the mortal, when I jump, I'll tuck in the air.
As with most floreios in capoeira, we teach mortal in a step-by-step process and like to use drills that teach the basic concepts behind the movements without the risk of throwing the entire movement before the student is ready. There's a simple preparation exercise that you can do with a partner to train the jump and starting the rotation for the mortal without actually doing the flip. Have a partner stand behind you about arm's length away, facing your back so that you're both looking in the same direction. They will hold both arms out with their elbows locked and their palms against your upper back. The best place for them to put their hands is right underneath your shoulder blades. With their arms in place, jump up using your arms to gain height and throw your knees up to your chest hard like you were trying to start the flip. Your friend will stabilize you and keep you upright by pushing on your back. Bringing your knees up to your chest will force you back into their hands, and they need to apply firm pressure against your back and stay close to keep you safe. If they're too far back, you'll start your rotation and come down on your back, so make sure that their hands are against your back from the time that you leave the ground. Then as you bring your knees up, have them actually push against your back to counter the momentum from your knees coming up. Repeat this exercise until you feel comfortable with the timing of all the elements in the jump. If you want further details of how to use your arms and knees to get height and rotate, we'll go into greater detail in the technique section of this video. Remember, you need to jump straight up, get high, open your chest and leave your head back, and bring your knees up to start the rotation. When you feel all of these elements coming together, you'll be ready to move on and actually try a mortal.
Later on, you want to make sure you put your hands on the shoulders like you're hugging the other one right here, so you protect and give your friend the trust. Okay, after that, later on when they feel comfortable, you can just hold them with one hand so then they can flip all the way.
As you're learning to do mortal, we strongly recommend that you find someone who is a trained spotter to help you until you're very comfortable with the standing back tuck. Although there are a lot of details to mortal, we can simplify the movement into two essential steps: throwing your arms up and bringing your knees to your chest. Obviously, to do mortal you need to jump, but the subtle part of the jump is the extra lift that you get by throwing your arms up, so that's how we refer to step one. The next step is bringing both of your knees to your chest. Bringing your knees up and not your chest down is what initiates your rotation for the flip. Then you land. For the purpose of emphasizing the rhythm and timing, instead of counting these steps as 1, 2, 3, we'll count on half beats like 1 and 2. The 1 count is jumping and throwing your arms up. The and count, which is the half beat, is bringing your knees up to your chest, and you land back on your feet on the 2 count like this: 1 and 2. 1 and 2. Now let's break down the details, remembering to emphasize those 2 steps. Start in a standing position with your arms straight forward. Swing your arms back as you bend your knees, then swing your arms down past your knees and up in a circular motion, finishing with both arms straight up in the air. The deepest bend in your knees should be when your arms are straight down, and at the same time that your arms swing past your knees, you should be exploding upward, jumping into the air. Time your jump so that your feet leave the ground at precisely the same moment that your arms are reaching straight up. Then jump straight up. Only after leaving the ground should you lean your head back and open up your shoulders. Then bring your knees up to your chest as hard as you can to start the rotation. Hold onto your knees and hold the tuck until you're 3/4 of the way around, with your face looking straight down at the ground. If you come out of the tuck too early, your rotation will stop and you'll land on your hands and knees. It's also good to keep in mind that it's much better to hold the tuck too long than not long enough. If you hold too long, you'll just over-rotate a little bit, bounce off your feet, and roll onto your back. Make sure to use a qualified spotter that knows how to help you get over the top before you try this. Then once you're 3/4 of the way around, release the tuck, extend your body, and land on your feet. The two keys to doing mortal are getting enough height and rotating fast enough to ensure that you have time to flip and land on your feet. Of course, it's important to jump up high, but the trick that will get you the extra little bit that you need is actually in your arms, not in your legs. Start with your arms back, as we already discussed. Then when you swing them up so hard that they feel like they're coming out of your shoulder sockets. If you do this without jumping at all, it should actually lift you up off the ground so you can see the momentum building. When you add this momentum to an explosive jump, then you'll be able to get high enough to actually complete the mortal. When you jump for mortal, jump straight up. Don't lean forward under any circumstances, and don't lean or jump backward either. Just go straight up and tilt your head back and let your shoulders open up. Obviously, if you lean forward, you won't be able to flip backward, but most people don't realize how bad it is if you jump backward or arc your back as you're jumping. When you lean back as you jump, you don't get as high. Because you're traveling at a diagonal, you move backwards but don't get the same altitude, and if you don't get up high enough, you'll never have time to finish the flip. If you're having trouble with this, repeat the preparation exercise with your partner from the beginning of this video. Focus on going straight up and let your knees coming up to your chest be what propels you back into their hands. A lot of people who are trying to learn mortal forget how important the momentum that you gain from throwing your arms up is to getting the height that you need. You need to make sure that you really throw them up to create that extra lift. Another common mistake is bringing your chest down to your knees or reaching your hands down to your knees to tuck. If you're going to rotate backward, you can't have your torso moving down and forward. Remember, as you throw your arms up, lean your head back and open up your chest and shoulders. Then, bring your knees all the way up. That's what gets you rotating through the flip. Finally, many people come out of their tuck too early. If your body is laid out and extended, you won't rotate as fast or at all. Once you bring your knees up, hold a tight tuck, and hold it all the way until you're looking at the spot that your feet will land on. Don't come out of the tuck until that point. Standing back flips are actually much easier to do than standing front flips. For the purposes of this video, we don't need to analyze all of the technical reasons why this is, but suffice it to say that your body's natural movement and momentum makes it much easier to flip backward than forward from a standing position. Another huge element that makes it easier is that when you're doing a backflip, you can see the ground as you're exiting and easily spot your landing. On the contrary, front flips have a blind landing, so you need to have much greater control and awareness of your body and position relative to your environment to do and especially land a front flip on the ground, whether you're running or standing. There are literally dozens of kinds of variations of mortal. The most exciting ones usually come from a round-off or a folia seca style entry. But you need to get comfortable with the basic backflip before you train all of the extras. Once you're comfortable and confident with your standing mortal, then you'll find that it is easy to stay oriented as you're upside down and try the different variations and flourishes that are out there. So remember, there's no substitute for practice and repetition, and make sure that you're training on a soft protective surface with a qualified spotter to keep you safe. Then practice often, and as you improve, push yourself by trying different styles of flips. Before you know it, you'll find yourself throwing those flips that you've been training in class in the roda as well.